Today on Swarm of Comics, I'm joined by my brother Bill. He even wore his comic book shirt. Say hi, Bill.
Hi.
You're supposed to say hi, Bill.
Hi.
That's the joke.
Oh.
That was in dedication to the Smothers Brothers, but God rest their soul. Anyway, we're going to talk today about some of Bill's collection that he dug up because he was inspired by my videos. So stick around for that. I'm Randy.
And I'm Bill.
And this is Swarm of Comics. Today, as I said in our intro video already, so I don't know why I'm repeating myself, my brother Bill has decided to join us. I forced him to watch a bunch of my videos, so I get views to beat the algorithms, and now I'm literally up to 100 views. So I couldn't be happier here, considering I'm not trying to sell you anything or become famous. I just enjoy sharing content with you guys, connecting with people out there, and I hope you guys enjoy the same thing. So my brother Bill and I, say hi, Bill.
Hi.
You're supposed to say hi, Bill.
Hi,
Didn't
Bill.
we cover this in the intro?
Yeah.
God, they're the worst. We're going to be the worst comedy team ever. We grew up, obviously, we're only about a year apart, a year, a month, and 3 days, but who's counting? And we started collecting comic books when we were little kids. We'd get comic books, Archie's. We were in a car accident once, and he was in the hospital, and everybody brought him little comic books and stuff like that. And we had comic books, but we didn't really start to become comic book collectors until about 1983. And we had a really good friend named Louis Zioli, who was a big comic book collector, introduced us to a lot. He also introduced us to some like horror movies and stuff, and we were probably a little too young for some of that, but maybe that's content for another video. But he maybe was a little smidge older than us, and that's when we went to our first comic book store. Yeah. Turns out there was a comic book store in the town we grew up in, and we didn't even know it. We didn't even find out until we moved to another town.
That's right. Yeah.
So there was New England Comics, and they're a chain in Massachusetts, New England. They used to be in Florida too, but that bombed. I'm not sure people. Oh, really? Yeah. I'm not sure people in Florida can read. So I might have to edit that content out, or I'm going to go viral on Twitter or something like that. I apologize to everybody in Florida. If you're watching this, I'm sorry. I said that slow for them. Anyway, we started collecting comic books, and we really just, we started with going to the racks. What was it? The pharmacy, the convenience store, whatever it was, which is how we first, I mentioned in another video, how we first started reading Indiana Jones, and how we first started reading G.I. Joe, and, X-Men, and all these different books. Used to be a store called Paperama, which is like a party store, paper goods store, and they used to have a rack of books and comics, and I think that's where I got my first Daredevil 180. So we just started reading comics, and we just dove in, buying as many comics as we could afford. We didn't have much money or anything like that, but we tried to get what we could, and we collected together for a long time. We liked a lot of the same titles. We would read each other's books and everything like that. And at some point, and I'm going to let you speak to it, I kept collecting and reading comic books, and I feel like maybe you dropped off and it wasn't your thing anymore. When do you think that happened?
That happened either late 80s or early 90s. Because, like I said, the Indiana Jones
books
series ended.
Yeah. Fantastic series. Yes. Go back and find the trade paperbacks or the cheap issues. It was honestly really good. Like, they should have made some of the new movies out of these comics.
Yeah, they were really good. Yeah, very underrated. Yeah. And at that point, I was big into Daredevil. And Frank Miller did his Great Born Again run, I want to say like 88. Yeah. And then afterward, it was just like an endless series of different writers and different artists, and it just didn't do it for me. Right. And those are pretty much the only things I was collecting at that point. Yeah. So, and
I think that, and tell me if I'm wrong, you also were influenced by a lot what I was reading, and you were off living somewhere else, or moved out, or doing other stuff, or working full time. It was just we weren't around that. I stopped collecting in the late 90s. I missed the whole Amazing Spider-Man clone saga. I didn't collect for like at least 5 years. I went back and played a little catch up afterwards. So I even dropped off for a while. Sometimes life happens.
Yeah. Things got busy with the band. Yeah. Just working and everything. Yeah.
And you gave a lot of your comics to me.
I did. Yeah.
Matter of fact, I think you gave most of them to me, and then I gave a core group of them back to you.
Yeah.
So my brother Bill has brought a box of books that I think he had an old stinky box in the basement and was not taking care of them.
We'll see. Well, they were in
You guys are
airtight.
upset. Okay.
They're in an airtight container.
Okay. Then
And so
that's
these
better.
haven't been opened in like 25 years.
Okay. So
Yeah.
my brother's gone through them. He started digging through them. He started looking up some prices on them.
Yeah.
And he knows he didn't have anything that was going to be like some big, oh, I have New Mutants 98 in mint condition. They're probably not even in mint condition. They were read.
Yeah.
They were daily reader books we reread. You know, I actually, that concept to me is foreign these days. I don't reread comic books anymore. But back then we'd reread them and reread them.
Yeah.
Maybe because we were poor and we didn't have any more comics to read, but
Yeah.
we enjoyed them.
Yeah.
And we were into them. So Bill has brought a box of books. He's going to sort of dig into them. He's going to hand them over to me. And I think talk a little bit about each. I don't know whether you're going to give me a batch of them or a single comic or whatever. We don't want this to be 4 hours long of me talking, but I do, but you don't want that. So, and then I'm going to check them out. I might even look at them and grade them a little bit. Maybe I'll bring up eBay, but we know there's no bangers. I don't think it's going to be any big surprises in here, but there might be some fun books. So I want you to I haven't seen these yet. So hand me some books and we'll start talking about them and I'll check them out.
So here's
no bags and boards. Oh God.
Just a few of them. Most of them are packaged well. So Daredevil Chronicles. One shot that came out in 1982 at the height of the Frank Miller run. So that's some interviews. It has a really long interview with Miller and Klaus Janson. And I remember you had pointed out to me, it's like a 20-page interview that at first, like Miller and Janson were answering equitably.
Yeah.
And then at some point, Janson just gets forgotten about, and then he has to like some of his quotes like, can I say something? And like,
it's kind of like you and I talking. You're going to have to fight to say something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see it. It's interview here, as you can say.
Yeah.
With them. I have not thought about this book since probably 1982 or something like that.
Yeah, it has a lot of great trivia in it.
Oh yeah. Fred Hembeck.
Yep.
Facts in there.
Yep.
Great book. Worth nothing, and you've absolutely beat the shit out of it.
Yes.
So I would
not taken care of.
And you weren't looking for grades or anything like that, but I would throw in there that this is probably a 2.5 or 3. You got Standing Inside, but beautiful book, beautiful cover. This is a very unforgotten about book. I'm actually might hunt this down and find a nice copy of this.
Because I looked him up, and even like a higher grade probably wouldn't cost too much.
No, that's great. And they don't have to cost a ton. That's the beauty.
Yeah.
I'm going to sort of carefully file those on the floor next to us.
Okay. And then the X-Men movie
special prequel edition from Toys R Us.
Which I will acknowledge, I don't think I ever even read it.
Well, somebody read it. It does have some spine ticks, and it has on the black spine, you're not gonna be able to see it, but it's got some chipping along there. That could have just been the way it was packaged. It's got a little fold up the top. I've never even heard of this. I've known nothing about it.
Or if I did read it, I don't remember.
X-Men the movie exclusive Toys R Us. Did you happen to look this up?
Yes. Yeah, it's not worth much.
Oh, good.
But I may have read it when we first got it. So this is talking summer of 2000.
Yes, summer 2000, July 2000.
Yeah.
I've never heard of the writer, but I'm also not big on knowing writers and artists, so I apologize in advance for all of my videos. The writer is Jay Fairber, and the art penciler is Carl Waller, but the inker is Mark McKenna, who I am friends with. Find him on Instagram.
Oh, really?
He is a great guy. He's at all the conventions, and he's done some wonderful work.
And it's good art.
Inking in here. Oh yeah, it's actually whoever Carl Waller is, and somebody might yell at me in the comments. Nobody comments on my videos. But if I had people who commented or read this, they might comment, but who he is. But it's actually pretty good art. X-Men the movie exclusive. Did you happen to look that up? I forget.
Yeah, it's
worthless.
Pretty much.
So there's a reader's crease on it.
Yeah.
So which means somebody read it. And it wasn't just me now.
And like I said, I might have read it. I just don't remember it.
So do you see that line that goes up there?
Yeah.
That's a reader's crease.
Okay. That
means the way it got folded over, somebody's thumb was here and they read it and everything like that.
Okay.
And then these, as I'm explaining to my brother, you probably all know this. Those are spine ticks. So you see these ticks right there?
Yeah.
Especially with this black cover, you're gonna see them. So that's a spine tick. That means somebody folded the book forward like that. They were flipping through it or something like that, or they folded it like that. And the black is notorious, as you can see all the chipping along the black color loss there.
Hmm.
And then there's a little fold down the bottom.
Yeah.
So not that you were looking for these in any condition, but you know.
No, it's just I want to learn more about, I said, what
Yeah,
these
absolutely.
the criteria. So martial law,
a classic, one of my favorite books ever. I have the trades. I have all the series of this. So again, criminally underrated.
Yep.
Probably worthless.
Yeah, it's not even a good condition, isn't worth much.
Even if it was a 9/8 in a slabbed, it might be worth some. So yeah. So you count up the number of spine ticks: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not terrible, but it's red.
I must have read that 20 times.
20 times. It's got a blunted corner there. The other corners are okay. It's got finger bends, finger marks right there in the back, maybe from a thumb fingernail or something like that. But martial law. If you don't know this book, buy this book. It was under the Epic imprint, which was more adult stuff on Marvel back in the 1980s and maybe 70s, 80s, and 90s. And do you remember how this is from October 1987?
Yeah.
How did you come across it? What did you think about it?
I think we saw it in New England Comics.
Okay.
I want to say, and the cover just exploded. It was like, oh, that looks really cool.
Yep.
And
the writer on this was Pat Mills.
Yep.
And the artist was Kevin O'Neill, who I think Kevin O'Neill passed away.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I think I have to check that.
He's famous for League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I'm going to have to look that up. I'll probably just do that while my brother's talking, because as the ongoing trend through all my videos is, I did no research beforehand because I didn't even know this book was going to be here. So I'm just going to say random things that might be true.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Do you want to speak about it at all?
That was, like I said, did it come out? It must have come out after Watchmen. So it's kind of 87. Watchmen was 86, right?
Yeah.
And sort of this like deconstructing superheroes and what would it be really like to have superheroes on the loose. And martial law was a very critical look at that and just how much mayhem was caused by renegade heroes who decided to just make their own gangs and stuff. And martial law was the consequence of that. He was pretty much like a hero hunter or cape killer, mass killer. As a Watchman was cape killers, and this is a mass killer. Well, whatever. But was a really great framing device for the first however many pages, that there were quotes in the boxes talking about San Francisco and the earthquake, because this is in the wake of another big earthquake in San Francisco.
It's kind of a post-apocalyptic, and then superheroes and supervillains have taken over, and it's very adult. It's content. It's violence and its sexual nature and language and so forth.
Yeah, and so they had these quotes talking about how San Francisco was all chaos and anarchy and masked men ruled the streets and stuff. And then it reveals finally that those were all quotes from the early 1900s, from the original earthquake.
So that is very interesting. I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
And of course, Kevin O'Neill, who we know from League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and martial law, but it was also on 2000 AD. So obviously very influenced by Judge Dredd, very influenced by the Watchmen and so forth. So great book.
Yep.
Great book. I did look it up. Kevin O'Neill did pass away. Sorry, if I was looking off to the side, I was looking at a computer screen.
All right.
Getting through these so Chatty Randy doesn't take 4 hours.
If you remember this.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I have all the issues, or almost all the issues.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see, once again, in no bags or boards whatsoever. So what my brother has given me is another adult epic comics series. It was a 6-issue limit series called The Black Dragon. Now, being Dungeons and Dragons nerds and adult fantasy nerds and things like that, Conan and everything like that, this was a fantastic series.
Yeah.
And
written by Chris Claremont.
Yep, written by Chris Claremont, and the covers were by John Bolton.
Yeah, John Bolton.
He wrote it into the covers. Chris Claremont wrote this. John Bolton, absolutely fantastic artwork. Super underrated. Absolutely, probably worthless.
Yeah, they are. They're worthless.
Absolutely
worthless.
worthless.
Crime.
Yep. This last issue is in good shape, except this one off. Do you see that spine tick right there?
Yeah.
That's lousy.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful series. This has a reader's crease right up the side and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I had this series forever, and I was always missing issue 2. I had read this series. So this series came out 1985. 85. And I had never read issue 2 until like 5 years ago.
Okay.
I just skipped it. I guess I didn't need to know it because I just never went and found it. It's just a hard to find book.
Yeah.
The Black Dragon, absolute fantastic swords and sorcery, knights
Yep.
and armor.
Yeah, it has
series.
Robin Hood,
Yep.
William Marshall, so with like historical fiction kind
Yep.
of thing.
By Chris Claremont,
Yeah.
who you might be familiar with.
Yeah.
And then absolutely stunning John Bolton covers.
Yeah, I will say at that point, like the comics we were used to buying, like these covers were like in a league of their own.
Yeah, I need you to look at this. I need you to look at the beautiful absolute detail on this painting here that stays in focus. Yeah, these were above and beyond what we were reading here. You know, I mean, this cover of the last issue, criminally underrated. If you take away anything from this video, it's going to be some cool books and things to look up and check out. And when I'm watching people's videos, a lot of stuff I collect, as I've mentioned, is stuff I didn't even know existed, and I'm learning about from other YouTubers, whether it's Automatic Comics, Jim from Bronzeville Comics, Bry's Comics, Mint Hunter. There's a lot of great content out there to watch.
And
So,
one last thing I will say about Black Dragon is that it was not a fairy tale ending.
Well,
it was
spoilers. Find the trade or find the original issues.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic book.
Yeah, just that was a really good story arc.
Excellent. What else you got from me?
So I got this, which obviously is not the first. This is a reprint, but it has extra content in it.
It does. Do you remember when you got this? So this is hardcover.
I bought that probably sometime in the last 5 or 10 years.
So I'm going to tell you a funny story, Bill. You had the original.
Do I?
You did. You gave it to me.
Yes, I did have the original. Yes.
And I have 2 of them. And I sent them both off to get graded.
All right. Are they worth? I imagine they've got to be worth something, right?
You get them in super high grade, they're worth something.
Yeah.
But they're black cover.
Yeah.
And
And
it's an
read
old book.
I
And
must
we
have
read
read it
them.
100 times.
I have a feeling. So I'm going to get those back in a modern submission. And I've submitted 2 Killing Jokes first prints. You can tell because it has the green lettering font on the cover. And one of them I'm hoping to come in as a 9.6, and I think the other one's going to be a 9.0.
Oh.
They're not going to be 9.8s. 9.8s, you need a 9.8 for it to be worth anything.
Okay.
But I'm getting them graded because they were our books. We bought them on the shelf when they came out, 1987, 1988.
88, I want to say.
I want to say it was 88.
Yeah.
And we bought them. So when my brother gave a ton of his comics to me back in the day because he wasn't reading them anymore, I gave him back a bunch of stuff that he was interested in having back. And I think we ended up keeping those. But they've both been submitted. So I'm going to have them. They'll both be graded. They might not be worth anything, or it might be worth just what I graded them for, but that's okay because they're mine and I like them and I bought them new, and that's part of grading for me. So my brother must have bought the hardcover because I kept his other issue.
Yes. Now the funny thing is, I got this off Amazon.
Okay.
And you see, this is still in the shrink wrap.
Yes, it is.
They sent me 2.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah. So I have one that I opened and read, and then the other one, they sent me an extra one. I don't know why, and so I decided to just keep that in the shrink wrap.
Can't beat that.
Yep.
Now I told you I'm getting my 2 Killing Jokes graded.
Yeah.
But I happen to pick up an unshrink wrapped used version.
Okay.
Somebody for $18 on Facebook was selling a stack of books. The collected Weapon X books from all the Marvel Comics Presents.
Oh.
A book I never read, which is Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe.
Oh.
And I'm going to give you a little secret. I don't really care about Deadpool. I like the movies.
Yeah, the movies are fun.
But
Yeah.
I'm going to read it because I'm interested in it. But I got that. I also got Watchmen.
Yep.
Entire thing.
I still have the trade we bought in like whenever, 87, 88.
Yep. And I got this.
Yeah.
And I got these all for a total of $18 for all
That's
4 of them.
a good deal.
Got to keep scouring the Craigslist and stuff like that. So the reason you have this one is because still shrink wrapped is because you got a free extra one.
Yes.
All right.
And now this one was
the
first time I invested. I spent money on what I thought was an investment.
Okay.
So it is a first printing Dark Knight Returns in the alternate cover.
Got it.
Yeah. And it's still only worth like $25 or something.
Yeah. And you have an awful either tear or something going on here, which basically made this what we call a reader's copy.
Yeah.
That's a nice way of saying it's a piece of shit.
Yeah, that's too bad.
So your spine is all
Yeah.
wrinkled here, and you've got a massive bend here, like somebody opened that cover and had their thumb on it or something like that. And the back has tons of scuffing.
Yeah.
Because you didn't, I mean, you did have it in a box, but it got beat up. It's also got slight foxing on there, which is slight little bit of mold or something like that. So it is a first print 1986 alternate cover of The Dark Knight Returns, one of the most infamous and best stories ever, with an introduction by Alan Moore.
Yep.
And it is absolutely worthless.
Yay.
So don't be afraid to read it. It's a reader's copy.
All right, fair enough.
But I love it. I mean, these are great stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, what have we got so far? We've got The Killing Joke, The Dark Knight Returns, some great obscure stuff like The Black Knight. Go read The Black Knight. I'm not
Black
kidding.
Dragon.
Black Dragon. Sorry, not The Black Knight. He's dumb.
These are worth nothing.
Yeah,
but
absolutely
I'll never
not.
get rid of them.
So the funny thing is anything in a 9.8 is worth something.
Yeah.
They're not 9.8s.
No.
I can tell through there. These bags are awful. Remind me before you leave to give you new bags.
Oh, okay. Yeah, these bags are probably 35 years old.
Yep, at least. So what he has here, he has Raiders of the Lost Ark,
Yep.
which was in the comic form. And this is issues 1, 2, and 3. It's the official adaptation.
Yep.
Somebody even wrote on this in pen.
Yeah.
So these are, again, worthless.
I probably bought them used.
But
Yeah.
Clearly you bought them used because they're absolutely fantastic books. Like, look at that cover with Tote.
Yep.
I'd have to look in these to see who did the artwork in this.
I want to say it was John Buscema.
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 John Buscema.
I never pronounce anything right.
I never pronounce anything right either, and that's probably a subject for a whole other video. But I only read these names. I watch these videos and I see how they're pronouncing names, and I'm like, oh, I never knew how to. Believe me, I'm pretty sure that I introduced myself to Bill Sienkiewicz, and I said to him, "Hi, Bill Sienkiewicz."
Yeah.
When I met him at a Comic-Con once a million years ago, until I knew his name was pronounced Sienkiewicz. How would I know? There was no YouTube videos to tell me anything. So this is fantastic. This is such great memories.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3 of Raiders of the Lost Ark. There's 2, and there's 3.
Yeah.
Do you remember if these had any content that wasn't in the movies, or were they exact adaptations of the movies?
There was a little bit that wasn't in the movies, like in issue 3, remember when he stows away on the submarine?
Yeah.
It shows him lashing, using his bullet to lash himself to the periscope.
Oh,
which they did not show in the movie. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that's the cool stuff there. I know a lot of novel adaptions of movies will add stuff in that wasn't there, or stuff that was in the scripts that ends up getting cut by the time the movie comes out. So those are cool. Raiders of the Lost Ark. If you can't tell, my brother's an Indiana Jones fan, and I probably talked about it in a previous video. I had that shirt made for his 50th birthday for him, and I have one myself, but I decided not to embarrass us and wear the same shirt. So what else do you got for us?
So these are actually worth something.
Okay.
And I hadn't even thought about it.
So my guess is, so what he has is he has the Temple of Doom series adaptation, 3 issues. My guess, without doing any research, Jackson Guise, who changed his name, by the way, to something completely different.
Okay.
And maybe it's a little sketchy. I can't remember. My guess would be these were were in such limited print runs that they ended up being worth something. And these aren't in bad shape. So this one here is in beautiful presenting copy. You have a blunted corner here. You have some spine ticks. That's not even color breaking. That's color breaking, but that's in decent shape. You probably wouldn't get a 9.8 on that. That might be a 9.4. This one here looks really fantastic. Just look at the cover. I know I'm not looking at the back cover. I know I'm not flipping through the pages. That's probably, maybe the top's a little fudge there. And then this one is really rough for some reason.
Yeah, somebody wrote on it.
Someone wrote 8.8 on it, but that's okay because it probably was from the pharmacy. So what you know if you watch any of my videos is very often with comic books, when they would come in the pharmacies, they'd write the dates on them so they'd know when to get rid of them. So this says 8.8, and this is a November issue. If you're a comic book collector, you know this didn't come out in November.
No.
This probably did come out in August, September. They're always a few months ahead. Difference between the date on the book and when it really comes out, which becomes dicey when they're trying to figure out first appearances. Look up the first appearance of the black suit for Spider-Man, or the first appearance of, I think it is Gambit, because Gambit first appears in an annual, but he also first appears in an X-Men. issue and 262 or 263 or something like that. But they came out, which one came out first?
Oh,
They came out the same month or maybe a month apart, but
Oh.
which one really came out first? So
Okay.
anyway, that's not usually dinged. So if you can't see it there on my crappy camera, it says 88 on there. The pharmacies would do that. Now, here's another interesting thing. If you ever see old Golden Age books or even early Silver Age books, and they have the entire cover cut off,
yeah.
not the cover, the trade dress
Yeah.
cut off, and people will buy like Superman #7 or Batman #4, and they'll buy them with the trade dress cut off.
Oh, really?
Even though it affects looking at the cover, it's still collectible because it's so expensive, so hard to get. You can get it more of an entry level price. But what happened is the pharmacies, drugstores, or whatever they happen to be, when these comics would go unsold, they didn't have to send back the whole comic. They just cut the trade dress off and just send the trade dresses back.
Oh, okay.
And they'd either give the books away or they give them to their kids or something
wow.
like that. So now, what do you think this might be worth in really good condition? Raw.
I don't say, do you mean like on eBay? Like, and they said eBay is funny, and I've found this out just from other stuff. Is like, so what they're selling is not necessarily what it's worth. Like somebody might have an exaggerate, but no lie, there's an Indiana Jones Temple of Doom #1, I believe, on eBay for $1,500 or something, which is ridiculous.
Now,
I think it was graded, if I remember right.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
We might be making a part 2 video here. How many more books are there? Oh, there's a bunch.
But I'm not going to go through all of them.
We're not going to go.
I have stories on a couple of them, but not.
I'm going to look it up, and I'll maybe put some
All
on
right.
the screen. What's going on there? My brother and I will look that up.
I'd
So those
say
are cool.
This could, like I said, this possibly in the conditions it might be 3 figures. I don't even know.
So you got
Yeah.
spine tick, spine tick, and that one's lousy.
Okay.
And that's just looking at the cover, and you've got maybe blunted corners.
Yeah.
So you probably would be a 9.0.
Okay.
And I know that sounds silly to a non-comic book collector who does this stuff, but the difference between a 9.0 and a 9.8 is
a lot.
A chasm. Like this could be worth $5 and a 9.8 could be worth $1,500. It
Okay.
really would be.
Okay.
I'm not a super professional grader.
All right.
We'd have to look at this. Maybe a press could help some of that. You have
Yeah.
wrinkles up here,
Yeah.
right here. So
So I don't know.
we're going to look those up later.
Yeah. Okay.
Fine.
Now this one
This one.
is the unexpected.
This was it. Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. By the way, fantastic book. I remember reading. Was this Dark Horse? This was Dark Horse. Okay.
Those are worth, in good shape. Though that issue is worth. I saw one for like $425, $400.
Okay.
I did take it out and look at it last night.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to do it now.
Yeah. So I think it's in pretty good shape.
So these are pressable defects. They're non-color breaking spine ticks that a press could do wonders on that. Your corners look pretty good. Even the top where there's waviness at the top and there's spine ticks. I got to remember to look at the camera. And then your back is in good shape. Staples are in good shape. Corners are in good shape.
It comes with the card.
Comes with a card in there, which is probably needed for it. The art is terrible.
Yes.
It's terrible. Okay. These are pressable defects in my opinion. And I'm going to encourage my brother, Bill. I'm Randy.
I'm Bill.
And we're Swarmer Comics.
We're Swarm Comics.
Yeah, see, we got that right.
Yeah.
And say hi, Bill.
Hi, Bill.
Third time's a charm. So I'm going to encourage him to bring this to my friend Tom Anderson at the Silver Age Collector on Instagram. I'll try and remember to put his link in the description to press this for you.
Okay.
I think this is worth pressing.
Okay.
And we're going to get him we're going to put this in a different pile, and we're going to get him a nice new cover and bag and board.
Okay.
All right, what do we got? Speeding along
Okay.
here. Oh, we're going to be doing part 2. And it's going to take 5 hours for this video to render on here.
Okay.
Making videos isn't easy, by the way.
No. The rest is all right. So it's most of that is the entire run of Indiana Jones.
Hey, want to hold this up here?
Yep.
Now, who did that cover, Bill?
John Byrne with Terry Austin.
Yeah. But Byrne didn't sign it.
He didn't sign it. Yeah. So I thought Terry Austin did, but he's primarily an inker.
Yep.
Like, I don't know if he did much artwork of his own. like I said, and I said these were read a gazillion times, so I have no illusions about
Nope,
their condition.
They're not in great shape
Yeah.
when they're absolutely worthless, but that's okay because they were great reads.
Because I'll never get rid of them.
Nope, these are absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
This was great stuff. This continued the further adventures of Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
This is criminally underrated book, and I know I say that a lot.
Howard Chaykin cover.
Yeah, Howard Chaykin.
Yeah, he did a few covers. He illustrated that one.
Oh, he did the
So
inside out too?
this is the one that started all.
This is it, and I can see the awful spine roll.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, this is it. This is in beat condition here.
This is beat to
It's
hell.
okay. This is
Yeah.
fun. The corner is completely folded up here. I don't know how you even accordion it like that.
Right.
Awful spine roll because you can see the pages there. But you bought this book
At Archer Kent
at Archer Kent, which was a
pharmacy.
in a drugstore. Did it only come to issue 8?
No, it's 34.
I thought you said this was the full run.
I had the full rundown.
He has the full run. I wasn't listening.
No, but I
This is the
want to
first 8.
talk about these two
Okay.
for a sec. If you
Bill
want.
wants
So
to. Bill, I'm going to let Bill talk now.
all right. So we got this. I remember we were in Archer Kent, and I was like, "You had gotten
yelling at me.
Hmm?
You're yelling at me. The microphone's right there.
all right." We went to Archer Kent. We wanted to get comics, or you wanted to get comics, and I was like, "Okay, I'll do that too." And so you got the GI Joe number 13.
Yep, you remember that.
And I was wavering between Indiana Jones and something else. I don't know what. And because I'd never heard of him, because we hadn't seen Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yep, this is 1982.
Yeah.
And Raiders of the Lost Ark came out in 81.
81.
I
Yeah.
think we had heard of it.
We'd
just hadn't
heard of
seen
it. We
yet.
didn't see
We
it.
didn't
yet.
see it in the theater. We saw it on video.
Right. Yes. So, but it looked cool, and for whatever reason, and I said we'd been watching like Gold Monkey and
Tales
stuff.
of the Gold Monkey,
Tales of
TV
Gold
show that
Monkey.
was a ripoff of Indiana
Yep,
Jones.
and Bring 'Em Back Alive. So
Yeah.
that whole like nostalgia thing was going on. So something about it appealed to me. And it's a great issue, a great story, and of course ended on a cliffhanger. And that was 83. We bought him.
I think it's 82.
I don't know.
82, 83.
So didn't know what happened. How did it end? What happens next? Fast forward a year later, it was summer of 84. When remember they bought the trailer and we used to go camping at a campground down the Cape.
We used to go camping. Yep.
And that was the place where you played baseball and
Yep. I
the
remember.
ball landed on and broke your nose.
Yep.
So we were in this campground and they had a little general store, which I believe was like a log cabin.
I remember.
And they had a crappy little news rack.
Yeah.
And on that rack was issue number 8. Because
You finally found
I
it.
found it after like
That was a big
year.
coincidence that you'd find that issue.
Yeah, it happened to be this issue.
I remember I got a Shade the Changing Man at that convenience store. We used to go camping. My brother started.
Yeah.
My parents got a camper, a pop-up camper back in the early
Mm-hmm.
1980s, and used to drag us camping every weekend to the worst campsites ever. And they were
Yeah, they were
it
terrible.
rained every single weekend, and it was a nice gesture, them going away and everything like that. But
Mm.
one of them happened to have an entire old-timey general store
Mm.
that I bought comics from the 1970s in.
Did you?
Well,
Oh.
Shade the Changing Man, I think came out in 75 or 74.
Oh,
And we were there in 1983, and these
Yeah.
comics were still on the rack, on the dusty old racks. So that's a cool story behind.
Yeah.
And you got those, and they had you on the edge of your seat with that cliffhanger.
yes.
So that my brother has showed us the first 8 issues, which
Yeah.
is sort of like the biggest influence there. And
Yeah.
then what do you got? The rest of them there?
Yeah, it's Western Merit. I mean, more Chaykin covers.
Yeah, hand it over to me. I want to look at
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Oh, great Howard Chaykin cover. You recognize he loves that square jaw there.
Yeah.
Criminally underrated books and stories.
Yep.
I would say the quality of them got worse as time went on.
It did.
Still
But,
fun stuff. This is a Chaykin cover too.
Yep.
Terry Austin.
Like I said, this was an interesting run. These two, this was the Arnhem Riggs saga, which came back in issue 19 through 22.
Rings.
Yeah. He found in Australia or something. It's a Herb Trimp took over. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
I think Herb
Yeah.
Trimp is correct, although I don't think anybody was a huge Herb. You know that if Herb Trimp took over your comic in the 1980s or 70s, that
Wasn't he doing Spider-Man for a while?
um
Did he? One of the Spider-Mans?
I don't know. I know he did Hulk again.
Okay.
Herb Trimp was fine.
Yeah,
I don't.
he's
I'm
fine.
not saying bad things about Herb Trimp.
Yeah, he took these were interesting.
Yeah,
They
they just weren't as good a quality of art as like John Byrne and Howard Chaykin at the time.
So yeah, I mean, just cool, just run of the mill.
It's got a stack of Indiana Jones
Yep.
here. Great stuff. Pick it up cheap if you like Indiana Jones.
Yep. That was a good. This one is my least favorite issue of all time, just because the story is terrible and Steve Ditko took over his art, and I didn't know who he was back then.
Yeah, you just knew that he ruined your book.
Yeah, he was a terrible artist.
Yeah, people are very sensitive about Steve Ditko because of his influence of helping create Spider-Man.
That was a great issue. That resolved like a 4-issue arc. Yeah,
cool cover.
It was good. Yeah, it was good art. It's different. I don't remember who did the art, but it wasn't Ditko.
Yep.
Yeah.
And because it was the 80s, these are all newsstand editions here, but it looks like by the time you got to this issue, it was actually a direct edition.
Yeah, some of these are newsstand, some are direct. There's no rhyme or reason.
No rhyme or reason.
So these 3
got more of them.
Are cool because of Michael Golden covers.
Michael Golden, who we all know from G.I. Joe and the Nom and stuff like that. Very reclusive artist, but he has started appearing at conventions apparently. Yeah, these are great covers.
This issue was the basis for the wonderful Indiana Jones movie we made in Plymouth.
Yep, we don't need to talk about.
Yeah, we won't talk about that.
Yep,
but that's right.
No need to talk about any homemade movies here. This is nobody. The crowd, the audience does not need to know any of that.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's lost for all of time. Oh, there's more. There's even more, guys. He does have all of them.
I have them all. Yeah.
We don't need to talk about.
No.
It's a good run.
It was a good run.
Cool covers.
Yep.
Pick those up.
Ricardo Villamonte took over as penciler for a few issues. And then these last 3, Ditko.
Steve Ditko.
He came back and ruined it.
Came back and ruined everything.
Yeah. But the story was decent.
Good.
But once again, ended on this. The story itself was resolved, but then the very last page of the last issue, Indy gets an update from Marcus Brody that Marion Ravenwood, who's mad at Indy once for the millionth time, went to Africa for some reason and then was killed in a uprising or something. And we never knew what happened.
Oh,
yeah.
Looked almost superhero and supervillainish here by the end.
It's definitely, yeah.
Good run though.
It was a good run. Yeah.
34 issues.
Yeah, 34 issues. Yeah.
Nice. Good stack there. Yeah. Guys, look at this whole stack of Indiana Jones. I'll sell them for $20.
And somebody had the omnibus of the entire run, like the giant trade.
I don't like omnibuses. They're too hard to read and they're too heavy. Listen, when I'm sitting on the toilet and I'm trying to read an omnibus, it's too heavy. Like, I just want a comic book.
Yeah. And someone I think it was on Amazon, is selling an omnibus used for $1,000. And I'm going to say, I don't think anybody is going to pay that much for it. They shouldn't. This was my first cynical cash grab.
Yeah.
That I thought would be worth something, and it's not.
Guys, you know what we all think about this, right?
Yeah.
I think the count was 3 million copies they made of this. Again, I did no research whatsoever about how many were sold, but there it is. Yeah. You don't even have it in the bag. So here's the funny thing. I think there's like a third print that's worth a shit ton of money because it was so rare and the cover was different or something like that. Readers are going to remember that. I'm not going to remember that. Superman 75, guys, 1993. We all remember the buzz if you were around.
Yep.
Death of Superman. Spoiler, he didn't die. Well, he did, but then he came back. All right.
Jim Lee, X-Men Rogue who was my favorite character.
Rogue was my brother's favorite character.
Yep.
Worthless though?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah.
Worthless. What do you got here?
180.
Daredevil 180. It's a nice shape.
Yeah, a friend of mine was going to a convention. I asked her to pick it up for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful condition.
Yeah.
Starting to get a buzz. More and more people are, for some reason, really picking up steam on these old Daredevils. I don't know why, because Daredevil, I mean, I know the TV show's coming out. Maybe they're adapting some of these or something, but you should really look at this and pull this. We should pull this out afterwards to look at this if it's worth slabbing. Okay. I slabbed mine. Oh, no, I bought one slabbed. I didn't slab mine. Mine was in terrible shape from when I was a kid, 1982. 1981?
81, 82.
81, 82. But that's in really nice shape. We should pull that aside to see if that use a press it. If you paid $5 and it costs us $25 to press it, it's maybe you don't want to get pressed. Maybe you want to open it up and read it.
No, that's fine. No, I got the I bought all the Miller trade paperbacks.
You got the trades.
So these are like my favorite Daredevils that I needed to keep. That one's Miller's last issue on his original run.
Yep.
Great issue with him and Bullseye playing Russian roulette.
How does a man search for his own soul?
Such a great story.
Him and Daredevil, him and Bullseye playing Russian roulette.
Yep.
That's intense.
Yep.
John
Byrne cover.
Famous
Daredevil.
John Byrne cover there, number 200.
Daredevil 200.
Love that.
Yep.
John Byrne used to be so cool. It was good.
And then this, I remember bought it new at New England Comics when it came out.
Yep.
And
Directly.
great story, such a great story. It presented, never even said Matt Murdock's name or Daredevil. He was a stranger in this little New Jersey town.
Stranger in a strange town.
Of course, I didn't know back then that it was a massive ripoff of High Plains Drifter.
Yeah, I could see beating him to death with the whips and everything
Yeah.
like that. High Plains Dripper Rooftop, 1985.
But
Daredevil, worth nothing, but
yeah,
very cool issue.
and that's it.
That is your comic haul. And those all meant something to you. And that's
Yeah.
what's important.
Yeah.
It's not about what they were worth. It's not about their condition. I know I talked about that because I talk about it in the video and a lot of people like that, but these are things that mean a lot to you. And
Yeah.
if you watch my videos and you'll see more, especially with the modern batch of books that I'm waiting for. I know it's a 30-day turnaround, but it's taking so long. That is going to be chock full of books that probably weren't worth slabbing if you were a comic flipper or comic seller. I did it because I like them.
Yeah.
They're just books that were mine. Like, spoiler, I have a Spawn #1 in there. It's probably not even a 9.4.
Yeah.
And so it's worth nothing. It might not even be worth what I slabbed it, but it's my book. I bought it in 1994 or whatever it was that it came out. And it was mine, and I like it, and I want to display it. Like I said, I like books that are good investments. I like them books that are worth money and going to go up in value. I've got some cool stuff behind me, but in general, I don't normally buy stuff that I don't like.
Yeah.
I will say the exception is this Justice League right there. I don't know if I love that Justice League.
Yeah.
I bought it purely for an investment and I got burned on it. And I mentioned in another episode. So I bought it at an auction. They billed it. Their graders that looked at it and said it was a 9.0, 7.5. Went from it's absolutely, I'm so underwater on that book, it's not even funny. But anyway, if somebody loves the Justice League and you want to message me, leave a comment, because I don't even think I like that book. And that was my lesson learned of buying books that I don't like. I bought it purely for investment and I got burned like a stupid head.
Yeah.
So I know this has been a long video.
Yeah.
No, you don't need to be apologetic. They probably shut it off after 8 minutes. That's what the averages say anyway. But for those who stuck around, I'm glad that you made it this far. And I hope you enjoyed the content. If you do, make sure you like, subscribe, add comments. Those are always helpful. And I try to subscribe back too, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, if you guys subscribe to me, I subscribe to you. I like finding new content. I find good stuff all the time. You have a channel that's your music. And what's the name of your channel? I'll try and put it in the comments in the description.
It says Bill Carter, but there are a million of them. It was Doubter's Prison.
Yeah,
that's my band name.
I'll just put the name in the description.
Yeah.
My brother's music was actually at the end of one of my videos early on, before I had custom theme music made for me by my guy in my band.
Yeah.
So sorry you got the boot on that.
No, it's fine.
I was hoping my brother didn't watch the end of the videos and see his music wasn't there anymore.
No, well, I figured out when I watched the one you said, oh, I got a custom music made. I was like, oh, that's
custom music made. Yeah, I mentioned the links in there, but I'll try and put it in this link again. And we appreciate you joining us here. Again, like, subscribe, comment, do all those fun things, or don't. I don't really care what you do, honestly.
But thank you for watching. Thanks for having me.
Hey, I'm glad to have you. We'll have to have you back on again. Hopefully we get some good reactions to this and people like it.
Yeah, so I hope so.
I had a lot of fun.
Me too.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us at Swarm of Comics. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.